Good evening.
Good evening.
I wish that Russell T Davies, had stuck to his original notion and called Boomtown Dining with Monsters.
I don't.
For two reasons. The first reason being that I think Boomtown's a fairly rubbish title for a Doctor Who story. But I think that Dining with Monsters, although potentially not much of a better title for a Doctor Who story, Elizabeth?
Monster Lunch.
Dining with Monsters would encapsulate the quirkiness of this episode quite nicely. And it is a quirky episode. And I've been reflecting on it because we watched it earlier today as I've been pottering about. It's the first time really since maybe, I don't know, Genesis of the Daleks and its ilk, where we've really started to knuckle down on, do I have the right, all that kind of thing, and play out the ramifications of the Doctor's chosen pastime and just go around and sort his problems out. But also there's some other differences, and I do think this is quite a different, breaking new ground story in a sort of quiet way. We've got returning character from earlier on in the series. That does...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That didn't really happen in Old Who. And I think that's actually quite it's an obvious thing to do, isn't it? Really. Now that we've got a nicely organised way of doing Doctor Who that doesn't just have like disparate stories rammed together. Tip our hat to Andrew Cartmel, who at least combined things thematically in a nice way. But that's a cool thing. And also, the Slitheen are a fine baddie for this Doctor to be facing. But it's not really about the Slitheen, is it? It could be any creature. Because actually...
They've made those costumes, Daddy.
Yes.
They
Oh, I
want
see.
to use them
They've
again.
got to get the money's worth, haven't they? Yes. But there's other things that are different, like Jack is now a companion. Now, Lib was saying to me earlier that Jack makes a positive impact on the TARDIS, and I think he really does. But it was funny, we'd never had companions sort of ranked before, and that's been nodded at in this series, hasn't it, with Adam being a failed companion, and then Jack comes along, and it just sort of works. And that's a difference. We'd not really had that before. The focus is resolutely on the Doctor and Rose. And there we go. Another difference. We get the people that the companions leave behind. And this has already been nodded to with Jackie and whatnot, but we really do feel with Mickey here.
I feel sorry for him.
Do I feel sorry for Mickey? No, it's a bit of a whinger. And
He's lame.
And I think that he did have an opportunity to go as well, didn't he? The Doctor gave him the choice.
Chicken. But also, I think I like it in Doctor Who where they show real people as being fallible.
Yeah.
And he's quite a good example of that, isn't he? He's not just, always doing the right thing and always, being really moral. He's just a bit shit and lame.
He's a bit ordinary, and there's nothing wrong with being ordinary. But
It's worse than ordinary.
well, yeah, I suppose that one of the joys of Doctor Who is how the Doctor can bring out the extraordinary in ordinary, and it does work with Mickey
If
eventually.
you've got it, because
Well,
Rose,
yeah,
is
Rose got it.
extraordinary.
Extraordinary, brilliant. But that is a take. We've not had that really before. And like I say, breaking new ground. The other thing I like about this story, and I think that you would struggle to do this on the regular, but I certainly think that Shooty's first season could have done with it, is this is a story that just seems to have acres of space in which just to have these characters that we really like just being together for a bit. Just being together and sort of hanging out and doing stuff. It takes a fair while for them to get going, and then when they do finally get going, they have a sort of like a bit of a silly sort of let's sort out the Slitheen problem, and then the actual story kicks in. So you actually get loads of room just for the characters to interact, so we can see them bouncing off each other. That bit in the cafe is lovely, actually, where Jack's telling a story and Mickey preempts the punchline and everybody enjoys it. I really like that. Like I say, I think Shooty's first season could have really done with some of that. I think that is one of the things that the truncated aspect of it meant that it really missed out on. But by the by, we'll worry about that in years to come. But ultimately, I think that Boomtown is quietly masterpiece is way too big a word for it, but just a really strong addition to this first season, exploring this character for those of us that already knew it, but also starting to point out the layers that are going on here. Of course, you've got Eccleston to bring that out, and Eccleston, I forgot. People talk about him being this war-weary, this sort of broken Doctor. In actual fact, he's so playful and daft, but with that hard, gritty edge that perfectly suits this story for all the reasons. That scene in the interplay between Margaret and the Doctor is beautifully pitched, and that sort of, it's not massive, deep psychological, oh my gosh, cracker style interrogation type thing, is it? But it's just edgy enough to bring out that aspect of the character. And ends up in being, as I say, a really delightful little story. A really lovely little story that just cements everybody in place, I think, before, of course, we get to our season finale. Which, may I add, and I don't normally do this, but in the next time trailer, again, this is something that is new for New Who, isn't it? They reveal the Daleks.
Yeah.
What's that about?
What is that?
I didn't remember them doing that. The Daleks don't get a mention in the next episode for ages and ages and ages and ages. That seemed to... Maybe it was because they were concerned that they might need a boost for the last couple of episodes. I don't think they did. I think it was almighty fine. But there we go. Anyway, with my hiccups at this very, very late hour of 11:30.
11, it's not that late.
Oh, it feels late. I'm absolutely shattered. Anyway, there we go. Right, farewell. Bye-bye.